Bastards. Today I want to talk about uh, a disaster that not many people think about. It's not actually a disaster because a disaster is just a higher magnitude of a problem. Like when you have just a flood that does some water in your basement during a heavy rain, that's a small disaster. That's a small problem. But if the same flood goes a few meters into your house, that's a disaster. And the same thing we can apply to traffic stops. I know not many people will consider it this way, but uh, traffic stops can be dangerous. If you look at the news, if we taking on consideration, like if you hear about has been every day you will hear on the radio there has been an accident on that highway and there is 2 hours of traffic stop. 2 hours is not really a problem, but it can turn into a bigger problem. Um, just a few examples. In China, it's notorious that there are big traffic stops. Some traffic stops even last days. Can you imagine that you're stuck in your car for days? That's kind of horrible. And not to mention, even if you are stuck in a heavy traffic stop for three to 4 hours on a very hot summer day, and you do not have any water, then you have the risk of dehydration. Um, that's a would be very terrible. So an everyday carry problem would turn into a long term problem. Another example is um, we saw recently because of the problems with transport and they're not allowing certain goods traveling across the channel. There has been a heavy traffic stop of trucks towards the canal, towards the harbors. So there has been a traffic stop of 32 kilometers. That's long. Imagine all those drivers of those trucks. They have to have water. They need food if they are going to stuck there. They need gasoline because you cannot stay forever in a traffic stop. You have to keep forward even if it's bit by bit. But yet again, that will take so much fuel. So those are things we need to take in consideration. And I'm not even talking about cold weather. That's another thing. There is an example of a person in Sweden who has been stuck in his car for a very long time because of a heavy snow. But it's Sweden is very isolated in certain places, and this person, take this, had to stay in his car for 2 months because of heavy snowfall for a heavy snowstorm. So he's been in his car for 2 months. He was he could have water from the snow. He could take a shit outside of the car, but food was a very big problem. If he didn't have that food in his car, he would have a serious problem because he could not go anywhere without freezing to death till he reached help or he could not reach help. That's another thing we're going to talk about. So if you're in a traffic, I would say keep. What I'm going to say now is something that you need to keep in your car at every time. We're probably going to only talk about the basics to survive the most. How do you say this? The most circumstances in a car if you're in a traffic stop that will last for hours to perhaps even days. Yeah, a lot of preppers will say, if you're in a traffic stop for days, why don't you just get out of the car? Yeah, in a normal situation, would you leave your car behind and not know that, Ali, once, first of all, it will make the situation worse because not only you have a traffic stop, but people get out of their cars to do their own thing, and yeah, other people are still waiting in the line. We have more patience than those people perhaps, or who can hold it out longer. So that would cause much problems. Yeah. So what should you always have in your car? First of all, just your EDC bag. Just, you know, the like you saw in my video with the ECD bag. You just have some small snacks in it. You have a canteen with water and emergency blankets and such and such. So that's something you can hold on for even during a summer day for a few hours in a traffic stop. So yeah, that's already a good start. If you do not have a EDC bag, or you forget it something, always keep in the trunk of your car the, I would say, the next things. Um, what is a certain problem that will happen? Well, water. Always keep one or two water bottles in your car, even if it gets hot. Yeah, it's better than nothing, to be honest, because you do not want to dehydrate. Something people do uh, during a long traffic stops in the summer here in Belgium is, if the how do you say this, the local authorities know there is a big traffic stop and it's that hot, they send people towards the highway to give them water bottles. But if that not happens, you're in big trouble. So that's the first thing. Always keep one or two water bottles in your car. The water bottles not only are for drinking, but in some cases, perhaps for sanitation or for burning wounds. If you burned your hand because you did something idiot with the fuel or something, could always happen. I don't know, but or for cooking at the side of the road. But we're going to talk about that in a moment. All right. So water, very important. What is the next important thing? Well, I would say food, but food is on the third place in my opinion. So uh, the second thing I would say is have some backup fuel. If you perhaps can see, I always keep a jerry can with some fuel. It's only 10 liters, but I always keep it in a I always keep it in my car, just in case I cannot reach a gas station at a certain time, or if you're in a traffic stop. It could happen that you're low on fuel and you have to drive, stop, drive, stop, drive, stop, drive, stop. That takes a lot of fuel actually, and yeah, the problem is, if you run out of fuel, the traffic stop will get worse for the people behind you and also you, because could you leave your car behind? So um, always have some backup gasoline. And actually not only for yourself, because if the person in front of you does not have any fuel anymore and you cannot pass him, you can share some of that fuel to that person so he can keep on going. So in that way, it's a win-win situation if you're in a very long traffic stop. Um, all right. Next thing, yeah, like I said, food. Always have some snacks in your car. Perhaps some, if you do long distances and it could take a very long time. I always keep some rice in my car, a few canned foods, and a little emergency cooker, so I can make tea, make hot chocolate, make a full dinner if the traffic stop is that long, and some snacks just in case for the small and the big hungers. Like I said before, sometimes, yeah, the traffic stops can be very long, especially in unusual circumstances, like if we saw at the Ukraine invasion, the traffic stops were immense towards the border, and it took a long time before those cars could get over the border. So you're gonna have to eat at some time. All right. Next thing is uh, cold. Cold could also be a problem. Like I said, the guy in Sweden, he survived because he also had warm clothing on. But that's something not many people think about. If they going with the car, they just think, just step in the car, put the air conditioning on, and just roll with it. And if I park close towards where I should be, and that's it. So they do not have perhaps a big jacket on, or even something like that. So always keep something to warm you. It could be, like I said, with the EDC, some emergency blanket, but that's not always the case. And that's not always sufficient. And the thing is also, perhaps you're not alone in the car, so you should have something for at least you and your partner, or even your children. So in that case, I always keep a woolen blanket in the trunk of my car, so that way I can even give share warmth with a second person in the car, or get around 2 times just for extra isolation, especially when you're in a traffic stop during winter. I will make a video about it, about if you're stuck in your car during a snowstorm. There are certain things you can do, is like set your car on every 10 minutes to keep the motor running and such of those tricks. But yet again, that's for another video. So also have always something to keep you warm, or you can take some reserve clothing in your back of the car. It's also handy. It's also part of my everyday uh, EDC for my car. So that's also very important. Next thing is I would advise, if you do not have a spare cell phone that you keep in the trunk in your glove compartment, I would advise to do that. So even if your phone is not almost broken, as long as you can start up a phone, you can call emergency services in case something happened. Every phone, even without a SIM card, should be able to do that. You can always, as long as the phone works, you can call for help. If your battery is down, perhaps one of those. I always have a certain, how do you say this, battery in my car that is designed to start up the car. So in case of the battery is flat, I can just, it's like a mobile jump unit. But with that same mobile jump unit, I can recharge my cell phone, or just have some one of those little cables that you can put in the little, how do you say this part where you can put a cable in it and load your cell phone by the motor of the car. So that way you can reach for help, you can call emergency services, or let people know that you will you will not be home at dinner on time. All right. So that's another thing. Another thing that's not for everyone, but people who have certain medical problems. I'm talking about people who have problems like people with diabetes or people with heart problems. Always keep some of your prescription medicine in your car, or put it in your car before you go. And you never know when there is a traffic stop. So I would say keep it in a certain compartment where the temperatures will not affect it. It's very more difficult for diabetes people because insulin needs to be stored cold. But I would advise to find some alternative or some way to store the medicine in your car, because if you're in a long traffic stop and you have heart problems and you need your medicine at so many times, and you forgot to take it before you got stuck in the traffic stop, that could face a major problem. So if you have medical problems and you need certain medicines, always keep them in your car, because you never know when a traffic stop will happen and you will perhaps not reach your home in time before you succumb or have some serious medical issues. All right, I think that's the biggest problems that could happen when you're in a big traffic stop. Perhaps some just might sound stupid, but just something to keep you busy, because yeah, you do not want to waste your cell phone battery just for playing Snake for so many hours, or being on Facebook, because yeah, perhaps you're gonna need that battery. So have an alternative way to keep you busy. Have something stupid like a Rubik's cube in your car, some cards uh, you can play solitaire with. Uh, Perhaps a book. Always keep a book in your car so you can read when you're in a traffic stop. Those are the things that you could use. Another thing, actually, you need to have in your car sunglasses, because yeah, like I said, when you're stuck in summer, the sun will be very bright, and perhaps could be, if you're in a long time traffic stop, it could be piercing your eyes for a very long time. Even if you put those flaps down, the sun could be very low, and that could be very problematic if you're in a long time traffic stop and it keeps shining in your eyes. You cannot always look away because you have to drive stop, drive stop, drive stop, and that could be detrimental for your eyesight in a if you're being exposed to sunlight for a very long time that directly. So sunglasses are also a very good idea. Or try to improvise some by like a piece of paper, put it around your eyes and make two slits, small slits in it. I know it make you look stupid, but you yeah you need to protect your eyes. It's very important, even if it's for the long term consequences can be very detrimental. Another thing is that many people underestimate uh, toilets. If you're in a traffic stop and you really need to do number one or number two, that could be a serious problem. I know it's not that big of a problem, but first of all, yeah, if you're in a traffic stop and you're on a highway, there is not always the option to just go to the side of the road and just take a leak or take a shit. Um, Depends on the places. Sometimes you can do that, but a lot of people don't like that being watched by dozens of other drivers who only entertainment will be that you take a shit next to the road. And yeah, many people find it shameful, but there are alternatives you can do. If you have a plastic bag, like just from shopping or something, I know it sounds stupid, but take a shit inside of the plastic bag. If you have empty water bottle and you need to urinate, you can, like truckers do, urinate inside of the bottle, and that way you can take a piss without stepping out of the car and without anyone noticing, except if they are strictly looking at you. So that's something you can do. What I what I'm planning to put in my car that I do not have, but it's an idea that I recently got, is one of those universal bedpans. These are one of those compartments with a certain nozzle that is usable for so well men as women inside of the car or in bed. So that way you can, even if a man and a woman can take a piss inside of the car without soiling uh, their clothing, or yeah, if you are with somebody else, it could be a little bit shameful, but it's better than to pee your pants, is what I'm saying. So these are just things you need to think about. So subscribe. This was my tips. So subscribe. I would really appreciate it. If you have some other ideas for in long-term traffic stops, do it. And see you next video. Bye.